This is your main event, Mark's Podcast, brought to you by Belly Up Unhinged Radio Network Sports. I am your first host, lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, cat dad, and the man who is currently in your house. I am Troy, and with me as always is the main event collector and figure hunting warrior. He's the WWE Walking Wrestling Encyclopedia and the Diesel to my Shawn Michaels. What up, Greg?
I'm Big D. I like it.
You're going to give him the Big D.
Apparently he sells weed now.
Wait, Kevin Nash sells weed now?
That's what Cardona and Meyer said on their podcast.
What the hell?
Yep.
Always making money, man. He's just a businessman through and through. I wonder if he's got like cool names for his weed that are like wrestling related.
It is called, wow. It's called Jackknife.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, man.
I love that. That's great. That's a story I didn't expect to hear today, but here we are.
Jackknife weed.
Oh, man. I bet he made a killing at the last GCW show he was at. Oh, man. But either way, today, man, we're going back to a year that, well, it's an interesting year. I'll say that. 1995. And, well, there was more misses than hits this year, I think. But like you and I discussed, not everything was bad. There was just a lot of, like, why is this happening kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, and that's in all companies, all right? Like, ECW sucked. I know. Hold on to your hats for that one. I broke some new ground there. WCW was fairly boring, but I feel like they were in they were in a state of flux at this point because Nitro was born over the summer. Hulk Hogan was in for like the first actual full year at this point. They were trying to make the Giant a thing. And yeah, so, and then Brian Pillman ends up joining the Four Horsemen at one point. So there's that too. And then on the WWF side, it was just a lot of, I don't know, man. I feel like they were trying some different stuff. They were trying to make some things happen, making some moves. And it was just like, some things hit, but not everything. And we're going to be talking about that today. You and I have talked about, they always blame, for some reason, because he was a champion, I guess, they always blame Diesel. Like, oh, 95 sucked because he was the champ. You know, like he was the deciding factor in whether or not people were going to, you know, tune in for a 2-hour show or whatever.
I just love how that's the narrative when numbers are down across the board.
Yeah. Like, oh, take the belt off them. The numbers are down. Like, you know, like
after Survivor Series 95, they jumped.
Yeah, right. Well, and my thing was, like, I think Diesel was one of the things keeping less people from tuning out. Him, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, maybe Bam Bam at the time. You know, there were very few people on the top of the card that really freaking mattered. Razor, but I don't know.
He's on his way out, though. I mean, I guess so is Nash. But...
Yeah, him and Nash are about to be gone in '96, and they're really going to set the woods on fire. But WWF is still trying to.
Opinion.
Yeah, but WWF is still trying to. It's weird to say they were trying to find themselves when the company was as old as they were and as successful as they were. But seriously, at this time, it was the new generation wasn't exactly booming. But we'll talk about it and whether or not we think 95 really deserves all the hate it gets. And there's plenty of news to talk about today. This was an interesting time all across the board. We're going to pause right quick to let you know that the main event Marks is sponsored by Swift Lifestyles. Their clean energy drinks and focus enhancers, great tasting vitamins, and big brain nootropics that are made and shipped from the USA. Go to swiftlifestyles.com and use our special promo code Main Event Marks. That is all one word to get 15% off your order. It's Main Event Marks, all one word for 15% off your order. Now, before we get into our first break here, now that we're done telling you to buy other people's stuff, come buy our stuff. We have a Bonfire store and a Redbubble store we'll talk to you more about in the break. It's got great merch in there. you can get it going into October. We've got a breast cancer awareness T-shirt. I know we're about we're in September right now, but
it's crazy to think that we're already almost there.
I know. It's like, oh man, it's about to be.
What the hell happened to 22?
I know. I always considered the holiday season, quote unquote, start with Halloween. It's like you get Halloween, next month you get Thanksgiving and Black Friday, the next month you get Christmas and New Year's. It's like bam, 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 right in a row, and then nothing for months. So
Veterans Day's in there too, right?
Is it? I always forget the date of
Veterans Day. I think it's in October. Is it Veterans Day?
Maybe. I have to look at. It's usually on a Monday, isn't it?
I feel
Columbus
like it's the first Monday. Columbus Day. That's what it is.
Yeah, Columbus Day is on the 10th, and then Halloween's on the 31st. That actually falls on a Monday this year, but. Yeah, we're going to have some fun in October, but we're still going to have fun here in September, talking about In Your House. Buy our merchandise, by the way. We'll talk about that going into the break, and we'll bring you the news right after this. Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. Get ready to rumble in your new Main Event Marks merchandise. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, masks, hats, stickers, pins, and much more on our Redbubble store. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com. You can also pick up some awesome clothing items with the latest updated show graphics on our Bonfire store. That's bonfire.com/store/main event marks. Support your favorite retro wrestling podcast and pick up some cool swag on our Bonfire and Redbubble stores. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com and bonfire.com/store/main event marks.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan. Yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Same mother and father.
Your room was...
we shared the room.
Shared a room.
We shared a room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast.
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The Broadcast. Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah. Well,
what do we do?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies. Go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast. That's BROKAST. Nearly stuffed up the ending.
No, it's all right. Good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Broadcast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C. We spell it with a K.
Sorry, mate.
Take it easy.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks. And we're back. Just to let you know, the Main Event Marks is sponsored by Shocked Energy. Shocked Energy is a healthier alternative to traditional energy drinks. It gives the energy that gamers need while in a long session without skimping on their health. Their products come in a powder form to mix into your water. You can either choose the green apple or watermelon boxes. If you want to try both, you can get the sample kit, use our link in the podcast description, or simply go to shockedenergy.com. At checkout, use our promo code MAINEVENT, that's all one word, to save 10% off your order. That's promo code MAINEVENT to save 10% at checkout. And I know why you're listening to this podcast, because you want to hear about wrestling. You don't want to hear about politics, and you don't want to hear about the news. You want to keep it strictly about wrestling and have fun. And that's what Greg and I strive to do here on this show as well. And another thing we love is coffee. And if you love coffee, you'll love Coffee Brand Coffee. Quality coffee with no gimmicks, fresh roasted to order. Are you ready to ditch your coffee gimmick? Coffee Brand Coffee is fresh roasted to order using only the highest quality coffee sources direct from farms around the world. You can go to our special link down in the podcast description. It is coffeebrandcoffee.com, and you can use our special promo code MAINEVENT at checkout. That'll get you 5% off your order. Again, that's coffeebrandcoffee.com. And at checkout, use promo code main event. Save yourself 5% at checkout and get yourself some gimmick-free, fresh roasted to order coffee at coffeebrandcoffee.com. Promo code main event. It is news and notes time. 1995. Is it going to suck this week? If anybody checks out,
no, it's good.
To anybody that
It's
checks
Guru
out
Energy.
nice. Yeah, anybody that checks out our YouTube, go subscribe to that. I posted a short. It's called Greg Regrets His Decisions. And you'll see why if you go check that out. It's funny.
I'm not
Anyway,
an energy drink guy, but I will back this Guru energy drink because it's actually really good, and there's not a lot of bad stuff in it. Like high amounts of sugar and stuff.
yeah, Greg is all about that health stuff, and I should be too.
Well, I try to be.
Yeah, I should be too, but I don't always drink and eat what's the best for me. But either way,
who does?
Getting into this first one here, it's about the Monday Night Wars. Week 2 of the Monday Night War ended up being a draw, but Uncle Dave liked Nitro better. Raw actually scored.
Oh, well then, that's the winner.
Exactly. Raw actually scored slightly higher with a 2.5 to Nitro's 2.4, but Dave considers it something of a victory for Nitro because the main event was Flair versus Pillman, which was barely advertised and then didn't happen anyway, so clearly hanging in there that strongly is something of a victory in itself.
Yeah, he's always got to have some asterisks on there, doesn't he?
Well, plus the fact that, week 2 of the show, and it's already like neck and neck with Raw, which has been on the air for a while now. That's not bad. Pretty good for them. But there is no serious discussion of Raw going live every week to counteract Nitro's sudden ratings win with live shows. I mean, production costs alone would be ridiculous. Yeah. Talk to us again.
WWE will never do well with live TV.
Yeah. Talk to us again in about 2 years, and we'll see where you're at. It's still crazy to me to think about. There was a time when they used to film like didn't they like do one Raw live, and then do like tape the next 2 or something like that?
My knowledge is they would do one Raw live and then tape the next week's or the week after that, the Tuesday after the live one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew they always taped at least one. And what's weird is, like, I thought that was bad, and then you get to the era of Impact Wrestling where they would tape like a whole month's worth of shows in one fell swoop. It's like,
there's even a couple times where they taped the show for after a pay-per-view.
Yeah, the worst one I ever saw was like, the internet is a thing, guys, and it's been a thing for a while now, and social media and all that.
I think it's going to catch on here very soon too.
Yeah. Yeah, and when TNA did the heel turn, the big heel turn for Robert Roode, where he turned on James Storm and won the TNA title. Well, they held a house show after filming like 2 weeks of TV. He wasn't even the number 1 contender yet on TV, but he's showing up at the house show as a heel world champion. Like, what? Even WWE would pay attention to that stuff. They're like, all right, you haven't won the belt on TV yet, so give it back to the guy.
Now, hang on, though. They just did that with Tyler Bate. But I think their out is they're getting rid of NXT UK.
Yeah, something like that. I don't think they care that much. They're like, it's going down anyway, whatever. So, and I don't know what the ratings are for it, but I'm going to assume that, they wouldn't be getting rid of it if it was, doing gangbusters. I could be wrong. I don't know
about ratings mattering because it only streams on Peacock. So,
yeah, well, there's still the streaming numbers is what I'm referring to, not necessarily like TV ratings.
I don't think they pay attention to those, honestly. I really don't. I think it's just a deal. I really don't think that's the thing because I've never seen anyone talking about it, good, bad, and different.
Well, I'm going to assume that they're doing pretty decent with certain things that they stream. I mean, I take
that back. I did hear that this SummerSlam was the most watched SummerSlam in history. But I don't.
Yeah. So, like, Peacock isn't going to want to keep streaming their stuff if they're doing, like, crap-ass streaming numbers. So, obviously, they're not, they're doing well and they're making Peacock money. So, I mean, it's
It's
that
actually
thing.
not going away either. It's just becoming NXT Europe.
Yeah,
So more or less it's expanding.
yeah. I'm gonna assume they're probably gonna make that more of a training ground style and try to make NXT kind of I don't know, almost like a third brand again. Because right now, it seems like when they went to 2.0, they really focused on. It's like, all right, these guys are only going to be here for a limited amount of time. They're new. They're going to improve, and then we're going to call them up. And occasionally, we'll send big stars down there to and that's the way it should be.
As a recording this past week, felt like everybody from Raw and SmackDown that was on NXT was on NXT.
Yeah, yeah.
kinda cool.
I mean, because they do that stuff with like back when they had Ohio Valley Wrestling. They would send the big stars down there every once in a while because they're like, "Oh, we're going to put you in the ring with our top prospect or whatever to see how you hang in there," that kind of stuff. So that only bodes well for whoever they're in the ring with. This one, speaking of the war here, this is the first quote unquote shot across the bow from WCW that we're talking about here. The WWF is now claiming that Lex Luger still has a valid contract through January. Luger, meanwhile, has been claiming all along that he was working without a contract for months and could have left whenever he wanted. Luger's claim is that the WWF put whiteout on his original contract and changed the date. No lawsuit.
You can do that.
Yeah, right. No lawsuit has been filed by the WWF, although official word from the WWF is that Luger never actually told Vince that he was going to WCW, and Vince only found out when he watched Nitro.
I call BS. He didn't watch Nitro. Someone told him.
Yeah, right. Well, somebody watched it because I know Pritchard talked about that.
Yeah, Pritchard watched it.
Yeah, well, Pritchard said he didn't even get a check because he was in the air on a plane. He said by the time he landed and he walked into his hotel room, Pat was calling him and telling him, "Hey, guess who was on Nitro?" And he said,
Luger, the Lex, the Flex, the USA.
I like how he said
what he said.
He said Pat's exact words were, fuck him, he's our problem now. Okay then. But to get out of a contract, you have to give notice within 13 weeks of the expiration, or else it rolls over for yet another year, which is what screwed Bret Hart over in 1992. Back in August, Vince and Lex had a meeting, in fact, where Lex informed him a potential WCW deal, and Vince even gave permission to negotiate a deal. Apparently, after Eric Bischoff lowballed Lex in initial negotiations, Luger went back to the WWF and informed them, which resulted in a renewed push at SummerSlam and big plans moving forward. Then Luger signed a deal with WCW on August 31st and apparently never called Vince. And apparently never called Vince and told him about it. Okay, apparently Vince didn't know. It was a shock to everybody. Because didn't you say he was on Raw like the week before or something like that?
He was on Raw week before, and apparently he was at a house show the day before.
Yeah, so there you go. Nobody knew, and I know Pritchard's
dirty pool.
I know Pritchard's bone of contention was he said because they were filming that new opening for Raw where everybody's fighting on top of the building, and they wanted Luger in it, and Bruce is like, he hasn't signed a contract yet. He's still working without a contract. I don't know if we should put him in this commercial because then we'll have to edit him out and whatever else. And they're like, and he said Vince was like adamant, no, he's gonna re-sign. Just put him in there, damn it. Like, all right. So he got in there, and sure enough,
we need him in the commercial.
Well, when people tune into Raw, the first thing they'll see is those biceps. Such a effing man. Good Lord. But yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. You can go back and forth on this one. I mean, Eric Bischoff said he purposely lowballed him because he didn't care about him. And he said when he came in, he was only negotiating with him as a favor to Sting because Luger and Sting were BFFs. So he's like, all right, fine, whatever. I'll offer him the minimum amount I possibly can think of. And if he takes it, fine. If he doesn't take it, I can say, well, I tried. He didn't take my offer. Sorry. And apparently Lex wanted out so bad, he just took it.
Yeah, he wanted out from being that one of the top baby faces to go be in the Dungeon of Doom.
Lex wasn't in the Dungeon of Doom.
Was.
He was?
Yeah.
When the
or
hell
at least with them.
When the hell was that?
Havoc night. Halloween Havoc 95. He's on their side when they screw Hogan.
Oh my! Wait, I don't remember that. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. Jimmy Hart's his manager. He helped the Giant win the title.
Oh, okay, I think. Okay, now I think it's coming.
Maybe
back
not
to
an
me.
official member, but he was with them, so it doesn't matter. He was with them.
Maybe he. Well, like we said multiple times, man, that angle was on fire. So why would he not want to be a part of that? You just ruined your argument.
No, Kevin Nash ruined my argument. Dick.
Yeah. But anyway,
it's the greatest Nash quote in history, by the way. We had to do something to compete with that Dungeon of Doom angle, which was on fire.
Of course it was. Sullivan, my son. Anything involving Kevin Sullivan, I am plugged in and all there for.
Take my money.
Damn right, take my money. I don't know. But I don't even know what to say. Well, actually,
move on. Well, you can do.
Actually, I do know what to say. It's something along the lines of, shut up and take my money. There you go. Got it in there. All right. Anyway.
That's what I said to her.
Good Lord. Moving on to this. Ticket sales were off to a slow start for In Your House 4. So they did a press conference in Winnipeg, you idiot, where they announced the top matches for the October show, including Diesel versus Davey Boy Smith for the WWF title, and Shawn Michaels defending the Intercontinental title against Dean Douglas. Ooh.
Yeah, about that.
They sent Shawn, Paul Bearer, and Ted DiBiase to the press conference, and basically no one showed up outside of one TV station, which was the French one. In fact, the station that carries WWF superstars in the market didn't even show up. And a slight change to the next show, The Undertaker will now face Mabel instead of Waylon Mercy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. Now
Not to be repetitive, but sign my ass up.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that one is going to draw some eyeballs, man.
Eyeballs, flies, whatever. It's going to draw.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Like, my gosh. Hey,
you know, I just think about this, by the way. You're going to... Go ahead.
I was going to say, Undertaker with versus Waylon, or, well, versus Mabel instead of Waylon Mercy. That's a hell of an upgrade, man.
Sir, here is a check with my name on it. Write down any number on this piece of paper, and I will pay it.
There you go.
That only works for main events. But Dan Spivey is not that bad a wrestler, and it would have been a skyscraper reunion. So, you know.
Oh, my gosh. It would have. Yeah. That's right.
He's a lot better than Mabel. Sorry, you know, rest in peace, but he is.
Yeah. Well, this time Waylon Mercy had 2 shot knees, and he could still wrestle better than Mabel. Yeah, In Your House 4.
Also, though, if they're going to send people to Canada to sell tickets, they have probably the Canadian god at that time, Bret Hart, and you don't send him.
Yeah, you and I had talked about
this. You could have even sent Owen Hart. What the hell?
This was called, ended up being called the Great White North. You and I talked about this before.
Original.
Like, yeah, right. It's like, okay, you put Davey Boy in the main event. All right, whatever. I get that. You know, he's part of the Hart family, blah, blah, blah. But Bret Hart, I don't even think he was on the card.
I think he did commentary. I think he got involved in the match, but I believe he might have did commentary. Don't hold me to that.
Yeah, he was at effing ringside. Like, nobody's buying tickets for that.
Unless he's going to sign an autograph for all, 4,000 people that showed up?
Yeah, right. Well, and it's just like Owen Hart. I think Owen Hart was at ringside. But it's like that, again, that's not selling any damn tickets. Let's see. Yeah,
How bad business is when you can't get the Canadians to sell tickets to Canadians, you know?
Right. Well, hey, look at this card, man. You got Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Fatu. The Smoking Guns versus 1-2-3 Kid Razor.
That's making a difference, Fatu, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Gold Dust versus Marty Jannetty. King Mabel versus Yokozuna. Oh, God, that alone.
Well, now hold on, though. That's Gold Dust's big debut. So
it was, but he took on Marty F. and Jannetty.
I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm just saying that's maybe what their mindset was. Hey, he's debuting.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm defending this.
Yeah, and King Mabel versus Yokozuna, like I said, that just, whew. And then,
it ends in the hug her around the world.
hey, you know what I think of when
God.
No, not what it's not something I already said. But what I think of when I see this match is work rate. Just
It's a work match.
damn right. Yeah, Razor Ramon versus Dean Douglas for the Intercontinental title. After, by the way, Shawn Michaels hand delivers it to Dean Douglas and gives it up because he got beat up by some Marines.
Allegedly.
Oh my gosh. And then, of course, British Bulldog and Diesel for the WWF title, which, by the way, ended in a disqualification. So, crap on that.
I also want to point out, by the way, it's worth noting that these pay-per-views were all $15. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I know it's $15, but back in the '90s, $15 was a lot. But you weren't paying like a full $40 or whatever the hell the original big price was. Might have been 30. This might have been half off, but again, I'm just saying,
well,
stick with that.
Well, what gets me is this last sentence I just said. In a slight change, The Undertaker will now face Mabel instead of Waylon Mercy. Wrong-o! The Undertaker is not even on the card. Mabel takes on Yokozuna.
So, okay, I remember that match happening. It must have been on an episode of Superstars.
Yeah.
Because that match does happen.
Yeah, they do face each other. Not here, though. So it's like Undertaker's opponent gets replaced, and then Mabel's opponent gets replaced. Another person leaving here soon. Adam Baum has a meeting with the head office in the WWF, but he's not coming back.
Oh, man, they're about to feel that wrath. I really thought you were going to miss that.
Yeah, right. Somebody who is coming in, though, Tony Norris, did in fact sign a contract with the WWF. There's no word on his new gimmick yet. Well, he's probably going to make a big Pearl River plunge into the WWF.
No, the punchline is his career is going to take a Pearl River plunge. Man!
Oh, Lord.
Just leave the comedy to me, please.
Good Lord. Well, originally, I guess, for anybody who doesn't know, Tony Norris is Ahmed Johnson.
Well, I don't care what anyone says.
Right.
I know he screwed himself later, but I was a huge fan when he debuted.
Well,
he had that it factor.
Yeah, right. And that theme song just got you on your feet.
Badass.
Jim Johnson did a good job.
The plunge itself was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess the name, they were trying to come up with a name for him, and they were asking Bill Watts. And Bill Watts came up with...
Well, I don't think I would want Bill Watts' opinion on a black man's name. I'm just saying. But go on.
I totally understand why you would say that. However, he had a track record for pushing the hell out of top black baby faces. Like Junkyard Dog and insert black guy here after Junkyard Dog leaves. That was always the punchline with him, where it's like, after JYD left, it's like, oh, we have to have another big black baby face to bring in the African Americans.
You always want to have a wrestler from every demographic that someone can like. I get that.
True.
Then you hear the stories about him being racist. I don't get it.
Well, the flip side of that is, like, JR was always saying, he's like, why does it have to be just random black baby face? He's like, you're not finding the next JYD. He's like, just quit focusing on skin color. If the guy gets over, push him. Like, yeah. Like, and I get, JYD, especially at the time, did bring in the black audience because there weren't a lot of top black stars in the business. But the people that he was replaced with were awful. But apparently Bill Watts came up with the name Buck Johnson, and they were like, we're not calling him Buck. Like, what the hell? So I don't remember who
if you use the wrong name in front of the word Johnson ever, you're going to regret it. Buck is one of them.
Yeah.
Also, Buck sounds like the... Actually, it was. I was going to say it sounds like a white guy name. Remember Uncle Buck? I love that movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's like... it's a kind of a overweight white guy name. No.
When I hear Buck Johnson, I'm thinking of like an old 50s comic like detective or something, like Buck Johnson on the case. Like, but somebody came up with Ahmed and they kept Johnson. So there you go. Whatever.
Was he Muslim?
Not in real life, I don't think.
Was
I mean, I
Ahmed
think-
yeah, was a Muslim name.
Yeah, Ahmed is like an African/Muslim name. Yeah, but I don't think he actually was. And then the ironic thing is he wasn't. He had nothing to do with the Nation of Domination at first, but then the Nation.
On the contrary, had everything to do with them, just not
Well,
on their side.
Well, he eventually intertwined with them, whatever. But he wasn't brought in to be like with the Nation or anything like that. But the Nation came in, and their whole gimmick was a lot of them got Muslim names, like Farouk Assad and Kama Mustafa and stuff like that. D'Lo Brown doesn't fit that. Neither did Mark Henry. But they kind of broke with those ones. This story is effed up, and I don't know if this is going to ever be on Dark Side of the Ring or what. I don't know if there's going to be enough to make a story or like a whole episode out of it.
They could. They're talented. Don't question that. I don't even know what you're going to say, but I can just tell they can do it.
It's true, but this is kind of a one-time incident, so I don't know if they could make a whole episode, but I don't know. Tatanka's mysterious suspension is now a mysterious firing. There are rumors that it's related to something that happened in December that resulted in a lawsuit from a woman, but no one knows. Did you ever hear about that?
No, which tells me it must have been fabricated or overdone. Or
Yeah, so...
I mean, unless it was real, and I don't know. But, I never heard anything of it, so I'm going to assume it went nowhere.
Yeah, so let me see if I can find actual story here.
While you're looking for that, let me tell you something I just realized, too. So, I've been binge watching 1994 WWE, or from 93. From the start of Raw. Okay. Right. So, I just realized they did the thing where they give Tatanka, or Chief Jay Strongbow, and what's the name of the other Native American, the real one? Wahoo. They both give him a headdress, right? It's like it's like a gorgeous, gorgeous headdress. Okay, and then a whole thing with IRS comes out and goes, you need to pay a gift tax on that, and starts becoming a whole thing. And he rips it up, Tatanka's face, and destroys it, makes him cry. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, and let's see, this is happening in April. It's happening in April, yeah. So in 4 months, he is going to turn and join the $1 Million Corporation on the same team as IRS. So in 4 months, a true Native American gets over some white guy ripping up his headdress that's sacred to him.
Wow.
I just laugh at that. I'm like, that's not something you forgive, especially Native Americans. They take that stuff very seriously. Never mind. I'm anything now. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's weird. Well, Tatanka was suspended originally on August 30th, reportedly as a preemptive measure for being named in a lawsuit to be filed by a woman stemming from an incident in Anaheim, California, following a WWF event in late '94.
At Disneyland, of all places. Oh, God.
Right? According to sources, the woman was said to have been drugged, sodomized, and her head shaved on only one side.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's weird. Kevin Nash reiterated this story in an interview with Kayfabe Commentaries. The woman was having drinks with him and The Undertaker the night prior. When the wrestlers were leaving the hotel the following morning, Nash noticed that she was seated in between two police officers. The hallway was smeared with blood. She had half of her head shaven, and she was crying, reporting the incident to the officers. In the interview, however, Nash presumed the person who did it was Jimmy Del Rey because of similar stories of Del Rey. But similar stories? What the hell?
Why would a gigolo need to do that?
Right. During representation by Tatanka's attorney, the facts showed that Tatanka was not involved in the incident at all, and Del Rey was fired from the company. Tatanka's suspension was lifted, and he returned with full pay to the active WWF roster. As Nash noted in his interview, he knew that Tatanka was not involved at all, but he had been around Del Rey that night, which caused Tatanka to also be named and unfairly suspended. Yeah. So
Jimmy Del Rey, that SOB is to blame for getting zip.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know anything about Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey. Apparently he was a piece of crap.
I just got to the part where he debuted, or the Heavenly Bodies debut. And
Yeah.
he's not good. I'm sorry. I know he's passed away, but he was not good.
It's okay. If he really did
terrible.
this, if he really did this crap, then he was.
I don't know. I don't know. So I'm not gonna say yes or no. I don't know. It's not fair. But he was not that good a wrestler anyway. So.
Nope.
They never drew a dime.
There you go.
Maybe an OVW.
Yeah. Smoky Mountain, damn it.
Oh, Smoky Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mother effer.
Even more white than Ohio Valley.
Smoky Mountain's the shit. Mother effer.
Of course.
He really says this. Look, I'm not crap on Smoky Mountain. They put a lot of guys out in wrestling. That's great. So, but it's just funny. Smoky Mountain's legit. OVW is WWE territory.
Yeah, right. So Jean-Pierre LaFitte's eye patch is an actual shoot, as he revealed in an interview that he was shot in the eye with a pellet gun at the age of 12 and lost sight in his one eye. I'm wondering if it was a Red Ryder.
Oh, yes.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
How come he didn't wear it as Pierre of the Quebecers then?
I guess he had a glass eye, and that's what he has now, is a glass eye, as far as I know. So it looks real.
That kind of adds to the whole PCO thing, and like getting electrified from the grave.
Yeah, he's such an effing man. And I like how he's like he's actually a really good wrestler.
Oh yeah, he is. I think he may be better now.
Yeah, he's a really good wrestler. He's tough as nails. But Bruce Pritchard, for some reason, is fascinated with the fact that he's got only one eye and he can catch a football.
It's tough.
I mean, yeah.
Plays football.
They play a form of football. They have the Grey Cup. I like how that's the name of it, by the way, the Grey Cup. Like, could you pick a more bland color? Or is it named after someone? I hope it's named after someone.
I hope my Gold City Warriors win the gold ball this year. Wait, isn't that already taken from Dancing with the Stars, actually? Like, that might already be done.
I don't know.
I think it's something ball.
You're not a Harry Potter fan, but when I hear a gold ball, I think of the snitch, that flying gold ball. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of it.
I have not. But...
Yeah, it's in their game Quidditch.
Speaking of gold ball,
get that.
Goldust is about to debut in WWE around this time.
Good Lord. Well, speaking of
news, or earlier news.
Well, speaking of the same guy, this story always gets me. The biggest show of the week was in Montreal on September 15th. Diesel versus Jean-Pierre LaFitte was the main event, and the Pirate refused to do the job. This was despite the show only drawing 5,800 people after Jacques Rougeau basically promised a 10,000-person sellout.
Oh, man, well.
So you mean to tell me
50% right though? So that.
You mean to tell me that Jacques Rougeau is full of crap? I don't believe you. Lafitte was so upset at being told that he was taking the powerbomb that he basically quit on the spot and said he'd rather lose his job than kill his drawing power in the city. Yeah, a whole 5,800 people showed up to see you in the main event. That's some drawing power there. In fact, Lafitte said he'd be happy to do the job for Diesel anywhere else in the world, but not Montreal.
What is it with people from Canada not wanting to lose there?
Montreal is
what the
weird,
hell,
bro.
Like Hulk Hogan or Hacksaw Jim Duggan, proud Americans, ever refuse to lose in America? Tell me that. I understand the logic here. I never will.
We're in D.C., brother. I can't do the job here. It's the U.S. Capitol.
That's barely even the U.S. as it is. So that's a horrible example, but I don't get it. I've never understood the mentality.
Well, the situation got so bad that Vince was called at home to personally negotiate with Lafitte, which resulted in a double countout finish instead. Things weren't helped by Shawn Michaels getting in Diesel's ear and getting him all riled up the whole time. After that, Diesel was cheered by about half of the crowd anyway.
About 2 years, they're going to hate Michaels a little bit more there, but we'll save that for another time.
Right. I laugh at a couple things about this story because Kevin Nash and a couple other
Oh,
people
I'm
talked about
stuck
this.
on the drawing power part, but
Yeah, right.
go ahead.
Well, a couple funny things about this. The first one was Shawn Michaels. I guess they said, yeah, he was in Diesel's ear all night. He's like, it's like, man, screw him, man. Who's he? He's not going to take your finish, huh? He's not going to take the champ's powerbomb finish, who's he to get out of that, huh? And he can't just lay down for you.
Hard to argue with that.
Yep. And
You just said it all in one thing. The champ, his finish. Like you wrote it yourself.
Yep. And he's like, well, why is he so much better than everybody else? He can't take your finish. And he's like, F him. Yeah, exactly. It's like, F him, make him do the job. You make him lay down. And that's like, Nash said he went to Pierre and was like, and Pierre's like arguing with him. And he's like, no. Hey, he's like, maybe we do count out finish. And he's like, no, F you get jackknifed and you lay down. And that's when Vince got involved. And then
I'm sorry, I'm seeing his point here.
Yep.
You're in there,
I
the
am
world
too.
champion. I don't care if it's your home.
Right. That doesn't matter.
You think Steve Lombardi refused to lose in Barclays Center? Good Lord.
Well, this,
people who don't get that, it's the Brooklyn Brawler, by the way, for people who don't understand.
yeah. This was just another one that I guess before the match, he was like, "Oh, we'll go out there, I'll be cheered, about 90% me, maybe 10% you." And he said during the match, Diesel's got him in a headlock on the ground, and he's listening. He's like, "I'm hearing them fans." He's like, "I don't know, it sounds about like 70-30 me. You still want to do that double count out?" And I guess after this incident right here is what basically killed Jean-Pierre LaFitte in the WWF. Because after this,
in the WWE, yes, because he's going to go be the amazing French Canadians in WCW in a minute.
Exactly.
So,
and apparently this was the catalyst for the whole thing because nobody wanted to do business with him after this. They said it was super ridiculous. But like, it's not even like he was like, I mean, I still think it's ridiculous with Bret Hart, but at least Bret Hart was, a draw and a big star. Whereas Jean-Pierre LaFitte, who the F was he?
He was the awesome pirate.
Yeah, because people gave a damn about that, clearly.
He's not the Mountie.
God. Speaking of firings, Vader is still not fired from WCW yet, and in fact, they sent a letter to the WWF, written in crayon, informing them that should anyone speak to Vader before he's officially fired, it's contract tampering.
Yeah, that's how it is in football and basketball and baseball and all that stuff. Let me tell you something. It still happens, okay? You're not going to tap the guy's phone and know everything he talks about. Shut up.
Yeah, well, the way they get around that, I guess, like in the WWF, when Nash left, he couldn't actually negotiate with WCW when he was. The way he got around it was Scott Hall could negotiate with them, and he talked to them on behalf of Nash. But, in quote-unquote hypotheticals. So there you go.
That's fair. Fair and smart.
So, yep, because Bischoff was
immoral. Not immoral. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it's skirting the rules, but not quite breaking them. So, because Bischoff was like, look, if I can any way get caught for this and, be blamed, he's like, it'd be the end of me. So he's like, we got to play the super by the book. I was like, they couldn't technically do anything because Nash wasn't negotiating a damn thing, and nobody representing Nash was doing anything. Hall,
I honestly
speaking
feel
for a friend.
I feel like as we speak right now, Cody Rhodes is doing that for MJF. Call me crazy, but I think he is. So, we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see. Well, meanwhile, Steve Austin.
Okay, anyone with a brain knows it's going to happen. So it's happening as we speak.
Meanwhile, Steve Austin was fired on September 15th after being in the doghouse for the past year for talking back to his bosses too much. The company saw...
Oh, man. You chew gum in class, too?
Oh, man.
How dare you talk back?
Yeah,
now the hell out of here and change the industry and make $1 trillion, you dick.
Yeah, what would his gimmick be in about two years from here? Beating up his boss.
I always say Austin is like that Babe Ruth rookie card that someone has and like, oh, This card's in like black and white, and some fat guy never seen before. Throw it away. This man finds said card, knows what it is, sells it for $1 trillion.
Right.
That's what that was. That's exactly what that was.
Well, and the thing was, like, it took a while. Like, it's not like he came right in and was like, you know, because at first they didn't really look at him like, he's a star. They looked at him like, he's a good hand. We'll put him in there, whatever. You know, he'll be the ringmaster. We'll see what we can get out of him. You know, and then after a while, it was like, you know, Austin had a brain. So that's what you've got to be dedicated. You got to want it. You got to have a brain. And then, the company's got to see something in you. Yeah. Because he fought for it. He saw what he wanted to do. He pushed for it. They listened. They're like, all right, we'll see if it gets over. And good Lord, did it get over.
It took him breaking his neck and almost ending his life, but it worked.
Yeah, that sucks. I saw something the other day. It said,
well, he's doing fine now, and he's walking upright, and he's fine. So it all works.
I saw something the other day. Somebody said Austin is retired on his own ranch out somewhere in Texas, and Vince McMahon is
up in northern Reno.
Reno.
He lives in Reno, northern California, northern.
I thought it lived in Texas. Well, either way, they said Austin's off retired on his ranch, and Vince McMahon left the WWF or the WWE in disgrace. The Attitude Era finally has a good ending.
Oh, yeah, The Rock is a movie. I saw that. The Rock's a movie star. Kane got canceled. The Undertaker
he got
retired
buried
his own.
by cancel culture. Mick Foley's off being a dude. DX finally took over the business. Yeah.
Man, life is good for all of them, dude.
Yeah, right. Well, this one, though, to continue on with this, the WCW had saw his $200,000 a year as a good way to cut costs, especially when he had suffered a tricep injury in Japan and was still 6 weeks away from being able to come back. Basically,
who are we talking about?
Austin.
Oh, okay.
Basically, like many others in WCW, Austin was caught between two cliques and didn't fit in with the Hogan clique or the Flair clique. Uncle Dave is not sure if Austin can go anywhere and make similar money, but the WWF is the most logical place for him to end up.
I'm just laughing because he won't been with everyone's clicks, so he goes out on his own and revolutionizes the business on his own. No clicks.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he can
move, guys.
I don't know if he can make that same kind of money in the WWF that he was making in WCW, Greg. It's going to be a tough one.
Well, yes, the ringmaster probably didn't, but
yeah.
Or Ice Dagger, something to call him, apparently.
Yeah, right. Chili McFreeze.
It's a real thing, by the way.
Yeah, you remember the Chili McFreeze idea? That was one of the names pitched.
Yeah, I know. Ice Dagger.
Yeah.
Hey, they got Stone Cold. Okay, they like 20% won their battle.
Yeah, right. Also, Gene Okerlund did, in fact, sign a new deal with WCW, getting a raise from his original $250,000 per year. He's only making $250,000?
To hold a mic, though? And I love him. Don't get me wrong. But wow.
Come on, Greg. $250,000 a year. I mean, how is he going to survive? Man's got to get a raise. Come on.
Man's got to eat, man.
Exactly. How's he going to put his kids through college? Anyway, WCW had Fall Brawl on.
Side hustle was that hotline. Don't forget. So there you go.
Apparently, he made bank on that damn thing. So
he made bank on BS that idiots bought into. Wow, that sounds so familiar.
I was going to say, I don't know. It sounds like a guy whose newsletter I'm reading right now. Whatever. But let's observe this. WCW had Fall Brawl on September 17th with a sellout crowd of 6,600 in Asheville with a buy rate that's already trending way down. That's not great since Hulk Hogan was on the show and he gets 25% of the gross off the top. Uncle Dave thought that it was...
Well, it was him versus the Giant in 2 different matches. I believe that's in the archives now.
Fall Brawl 95.
Oh, Fall Brawl. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
No, Fall Brawl sucked too.
Yeah, that was War Games, and the Giant does make an appearance, but yeah. But Uncle Dave
Why he's
thought
not
that it
in
was
the match? Who knows? But
right. Uncle Dave thought it was an average show, but at least it was better than it seemed on paper because DDP versus the Renegade ended up being better than they figured it to be.
just take a second, real quick, to think about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when your expectation is on the floor, I mean, DDP literally had a match with a broomstick here, and he got something out of it. So there you go. Ric Flair is having eye surgery and won't be able to do his match with Arn Anderson scheduled for Nitro. Yeah, it's okay. They'll reschedule.
They'll reschedule it, turn on Sting. And,
well, they do have that match. Which pay-per-view was that at? Or did it already happen?
It already happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
The deal to get Too Cold Scorpio from ECW is now dead, so Sabu will be working with Jerry Lynn instead at Halloween Havoc. That does happen.
I'm going to say it's Mr. JL, right? Not Jerry Lynn?
It is. Yep.
Yeah, you better get that right.
Sabu versus Mr. JL.
There you
Effing stupid. This one kind of made me laugh. Jimmy Hart told a story about running into Ted Turner in an elevator where Ted proudly told him, quote, "We're really kicking Vince's ass." So,
even Canelo Alvarez loses a round or two in his fights and then knocks the hell out of the dude in like the 7th or 8th.
yeah.
So, food for thought.
There's so many. Obviously, we could sit here and say, well, WWE stepped up their game, which obviously they did. But there are so many other factors why WCW just took a nosedive. It's like if Turner wouldn't have merged all of his companies, lost complete control, and then some idiot hired Vince Russo, I think they would have survived. They wouldn't have been beating WWF, but they would have survived.
I highly disagree. I mean, because Impact's still going. Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I think that they would have found a way. The fact that
Impact Wrestling has a longer shelf life now than WCW speaks volumes to me.
Well, WCW, I mean, it really, even when their ratings were complete crap, the only reason they were canceled was because they were like the new executives were waiting. They were just waiting for a reason. They're like, all right, we're done. Time to turn the lights out. Sell to Vince.
That wrestling off our channel.
Yep. Because Ted Turner wasn't in control anymore. If he was, because Ted Turner himself said, he's like, I don't care if I keep losing money on WCW. I like the product. I'll keep it alive. As soon as he lost control, it's like, all right, the old man's out. Time to sell.
I can see their thing with that, though. I mean, maybe he's okay losing money, but they're not.
Yeah. Well, I think he could have at least got some money back after a while. Maybe, maybe I'm wrong, but they would have had to hire new people. That's for damn sure, because Vince Russo sure as crap wasn't going to do it. But either way, WCW's November show is supposed to have some bizarre 3-ring triangle with Ron Reese and the Giant and El Gigante involved, with the show being not El Gigante.
El Gigante's in there.
No,
I think Ron Reese is like the karate or kung fu guy, right, or something like that.
He's still called he's still called the Yeti. Yeah, but he's dressed like a damn ninja.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
which made zero effing sense, but whatever. I mean,
but you're saying that implies that the Yeti, real name, according to Shivani, made sense. So
yeah, I mean, I realize he was dressed like a giant
mummy.
To
piece together your words here. Just trying to piece together your word. That's all.
I know. I get that he was originally dressed like they couldn't figure it out. It's like, was that supposed to be his gimmick? Was that he never dressed like an actual Yeti? He just kept wearing weird outfits. I don't know.
Okay, this is gonna sound horrible. Maybe I don't know. What the hell is a Yeti? Now, for me, a Yeti is that bearded guy in the basement on Friends that Rachel and Phoebe fogged. That's a Yeti.
A Yeti is an abominable snowman.
So it's not a mummy and it's not a guy with a hippie style beard. Okay, so we've eliminated the 2 Yetis I know of. Okay.
Wow.
So I was to that creature that attacked Luke Skywalker in the cave in Empire Strikes Back. Is that what you're telling me?
The Wampa. Yeah.
Yeah. It's closer to that.
Yep.
Okay. Mind blown.
Well, the show is being billed as
fun today.
Well, the show is being billed as the War of the Worlds, and Doom will reunite for it. That does not happen. And
yeah, it can't happen.
right. And it's called World War III, for anybody that doesn't know. I mean, some
I
of
will
this
stand by
happens.
this. I will stand by. I thought that was a cool name for a three-ring battle royal.
Yeah.
Like
it
the
was
show or
fine.
not, I thought it was a cool concept. 3 rings, World War III.
Yeah, it was.
We could be
It
on the
was
brink of that in 2022 in real time, but let's not think about that.
Right. Yeah, this is.
Prayers for everyone, but
well,
yeah, I kind of liked it. I didn't hate the concept. I thought it was unique.
I thought the whole a giant in every ring was stupid, but whatever. You had the giant in one ring.
I see your point, but I can also see. Yeah, okay.
They had the giant in one ring, the Yeti in another ring, and Hulk Hogan was supposed to be the third giant in the third ring. So, yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, Macho Man won that one.
Is there any word on why El Gigante fell through?
Maybe they realized it would be a terrible idea. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
All right, let's just put a little thing on here right now. We're gonna say a lot of deceased wrestlers are bad. Okay, I'm sorry, it's not crapping on the human because we've now done it like 3 times on the show. Do not tweet us and say we're being insensitive.
Don't at
Nobody's
us, bro.
talking about the human.
Right. Well, I will say this. I mean, say what you want about World War III and whatever. I was just disappointed that we didn't get to see the Yeti buck anybody in this one like he did the month before.
Whilst being held down by the giant.
Right.
People always forget that. They always go right to the Yeti doing that to Hulk Hogan. Do they forget that the giant held him? So he's an accessory to said rape?
He was an accessory to sodomy, yeah. That could be excused as he wanted a group hug. The Yeti hugged him from behind
I guess
and then
that's true. He was
vibrated.
Bear hug. You're right.
Yeah. Well, and then the Yeti wrapped his arms around, started like vibrating and shaking and crap. Like, what the hell?
Why? Why the hell did he shake his hips?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man. Well, we got to review that show sometime. Again, this one we go from.
I think I watched it 3 times for you.
You're welcome. This one we go from one WTF to another one. There are more. We're going to Memphis now. There are more details on the fight between Bill Dundee and Wolfie D, who is his son, in Memphis. Bill was cutting.
Real quick, for those who don't know, Wolfie D is part of PG-13, currently in WWE at this point, right? No, he's not there yet. No, he's not there.
Yeah. Or yeah, no, not yet.
Next year, okay.
Bill was selling photos of himself and PG-13, and Wolfie wanted a cut. It quickly turned into a fight, and as these discussions often do, and Bill pulled a knife on him.
Wow.
Yes.
Son, is this Blood's son, by the way?
Yes. So Bill was like, "You want a cut of the pictures that you're in? Well, here's my knife."
That is a knife.
Yeah. This is a knife. It's going in your ass. Lord.
We walk on you forever.
That's like so effed up, man. Who pulls a knife on their son?
I'm laughing. There's nothing funny about this, but it's the story. Also, nobody died, so that's a thing too. And I'm going to assume nobody got cut, so it's cool.
Right. Just who pulls a knife on their son? Especially over something like this.
Were they drunk?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so, but.
No, I think so. It makes this a lot better, more tolerable.
More palatable, yeah. Well, speaking of.
So, yes, the answer to the question, yes, they were drunk. Okay.
Well, speaking of people's sons returning to Memphis here, Techno Team 2000 returned to Memphis this week, pretending that their WWF stint never happened. Now let's forget about that crap.
Oh my god.
Okay, here's
I
the thing.
think it was. Hold on, real quick, not to veer off. I want to tell you before I forget. I think I told you Russo. I think I mentioned this last week. Cornette had a video where he talked about all of Russo's ideas. If I remember correctly, one of his ideas was to put Eric Watts in DX.
What?
I am not joking.
I heard about Test. I never heard about Eric Watts. Wow. Okay, then.
So there you go.
What's
Obviously,
his
someone thought highly
fascination
of
with? What was his fascination with Eric Watts? Because he brought him into TNA.
I don't know. But
Wasn't he in WCW for a minute?
yeah, he was. Let's just put this out there real quick, though. Eric Watts is not a piece of crap. He's just not that great.
Right.
He's definitely not like
Nobody gave
a. It's not like a. He's a terrible wrestler. He was terrible.
Hell, I don't know. Who's the guy he teamed with in Techno Team 2000?
There you go. There you go. Hey, he's not him,
Yeah.
but he was not worth a damn. Sorry.
Right. My thing here is they say Techno Team 2000 return. So it's like, okay, if they are returning with that gimmick and pretending like the WWF thing never happened, that's dumb. If they're changing the gimmick and pretending like that gimmick never happened, more power to you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, like what Chris Candido did when he left Skip behind, went to go be no gimmicks needed. That's leaving it behind. Having
Yeah,
the same damn name is not.
Yeah. Let's do this terrible thing over here and forget that terrible thing over there existed. Whatever.
You see how you just get those marks that you'll never be a booker. It's stuff like this why I would never want to be one.
Right.
I don't want to
Well,
touch that crap. I'll just watch. I like to watch. Now available in the store.
Good grief. It is on a shirt. Go get one.
I like to watch.
Hey, like I said, the holidays are right around the corner. Get yourself a shirt. Get one for the rest of your family, too. This one, going from one indie to another. In regards to Smoky Mountain Wrestling joining the NWA, Jim Cornette is saying that he was asked by Howard Brody, but, quote, politely declined. Good
Or
Lord.
Smoky Mountain to join the NWA?
Yeah.
I'd never heard that before.
It's funny when Smoky Mountain was big dogging the NWA in '95.
This goes to show you that once WCW seceded from them, they were DOA.
Yeah, right. There were rumors that he wouldn't join unless Brad Armstrong was made the NWA champion.
Hell yeah, BA.
But Cornette denies that is the case and thinks that Dan Severn is just fine as champion. And who the hell am I to besmirch the good name of Dan Severn?
About to say, man, tread easily, man. We got in trouble for that.
Oh yeah, apparently people love this guy on YouTube for whatever effing reason.
I don't hate him. I don't know why that's the thing. Oh, you're talking about him. It means you don't like him.
I just said he was boring. It's kind of hard to deny. And I'm not talking about. There's a difference between being a boring cage fighter, which he was not, and then being.
Well, that second fight with Ken Shamrock was like a 40-minute draw. They danced around for 40 minutes, so you might want to retract that.
Well, okay, well maybe there's that, but I'm not saying he was a bad wrestler. I'm saying he was boring. There are a lot of people that I think you're a good wrestler, but you're boring, and I would never pay to see you.
Up until 2 weeks ago, as of recording this, I said the same thing about Chad Gable. And
Yeah.
One Monday night with Kevin Owens changed my opinion. It happens.
I liked the shoosh battle that he had with Kurt. That was good. But, well,
It was stupid as hell, and I laughed so much. So.
yeah, right. Well, Brad Armstrong was a great wrestler, but I didn't give a damn about him. Like,
His biggest stuff came when he was parodying people during Vince Russo's WCW run, okay?
yeah,
He
right.
was Buzzkill, that BU-double-Z. Gee, I wonder where they got that from.
Yeah, right.
And then he was in the No Limit Soldiers because, the only white guy in the whole group. Yeah, he fit.
Yeah. And he had like a hot second where he was doing something where he was first he was Fantasia and then he was Bad Street with
And Arachnaman, I believe. I want to say.
he was Arachnaman, he was the Candyman. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, all he
Anyway.
did was just prove that man could stay employed. So good for him.
Yeah, right. Oh, like I said, he was a good hand. Just nobody gave a damn. But however, he did tell Brody that Dan Severn is limited by the number of opponents who could work his style, and that in the past, champions had in the past, champions had to be a bit more had to have a bit more versatility, which Cornette might have used Brad Armstrong as an example for, but that did not necessarily mean that he was pitching Brad as the NWA champion or that he refused to join unless Brad was champion. For anybody that doesn't know, Jim Cornette has a weird fascination with the Armstrong family. So I could very well see him pitching Brad as champion.
Bullet Bob's a legend, and Road Dogg's probably the greatest of all of them. So
It's definitely the most famous.
It's not like he's sticking up for a bad family.
Yeah. I mean, back in his day, Bullet Bob was a big draw, apparently. So I don't know. But
he drew a few dimes.
yeah. But mainstream-wise, obviously, Road Dogg is the top. And then I always thought, Steve, Steve in the Young Pistols /
I forgot about Steve.
Southern
Yeah.
Boys. Scott. Everybody who's watched wrestling for the past 20 years knows who Scott is because he's reffed a bazillion matches. So
that's hashtag hard body ref, man. Get that right.
Damn straight. Moving over to this company now that we crapped on earlier. The Pitbulls won the ECW Tag Team titles from Stevie Richards and Raven on the September 16th ECW Arena show. Plus, Rey Mysterio Jr. and Psychosis debuted against each other and had what is somewhere between a 4 and 5-star match.
Wow, now he's just throwing out there.
Yes. Oh, you take that
4 or 5.
You take that back. Mysterio and Psychosis putting up 4 to 5 stars. I don't believe it. In Dave's defense, I did watch their ECW stuff, and it was always great. So
Rey Mysterio is just timeless, dude. He still wrestles like he's a freaking 30-year-old man today.
Right. I always thought Psychosis was better than his push made him seem. He was always pretty good. Last ECW thing here. They've added a new Dudley to the family, they've added new Dudleys to the family, including a guy doing a Native American gimmick named Dances with Dudley. Pause for that one. And also Chubby Dudley. Because Bubba Ray wasn't already Chubby Dudley.
I was going to say, as opposed to all the fit Dudleys.
Yeah, right. I know. That's just a whole family full of, fit.
Skipping zips.
Yeah, right. They were just, hitting the gym, drinking nothing, drinking that protein powder down, and rolling. I can't even finish this. Final story I have here. If people are triggered, you might want to skip ahead about 3-4 minutes. This is oh my God. I want to talk about it though, because we covered something from this company in a past podcast. I don't remember which one, but
holy hell, dude, you're setting this up bad. I don't want to leave.
Yeah, well, the latest incredibly strange wrestling show in San Francisco. I know, I'm shocked too. Featured.
Hold on. Back then, it was a good wrestling city, but let's hold on.
Yeah, well, it featured the abortionist teaming with Cletus the Fetus as pro-life and pro-choice.
Okay, I retract. Go ahead.
Their big heat angle was attempting to give female wrestler Jenny X an abortion with a coat hanger, even though she isn't pregnant.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Ku Klux Klan, managed by Harley Racist,
holy shit,
debuted against the Yam Ripper.
We don't discuss this ahead of time, so I don't know what he's going to say.
Exactly. I wanted this.
I'm legitimately shocked.
I was shocked writing this shit down. The show ended with J.R. Benson getting knocked out by the rapist, and when his valet was unable,
we got actual okay name in there, and then you said the rapist. Okay.
And when his valet was unable to successfully revive him by rubbing her panties in his face, she peed on him instead. I don't know what to say.
Just dead there for the sake of you editing anything. I'm speechless.
This happened. And this wasn't just recently. This was in 1995. I cannot believe, even in San Francisco.
I thought Gigi Dolan. What was Gigi Dolan's name on the Indies?
Priscilla Kelly.
Yeah. Okay, so this makes what Priscilla Kelly did with the tampon look like WB PG-TV.
Yeah, that makes it look like this show here makes it look like everything else, like ECW even is like Luthez card back in the 40s or something.
I think it's like some crazy stuff there, but I can't get over the coat hanger part.
Yeah. I don't know how far they went with some of the stuff, but somebody apparently did get peed on. So let's look at some of these names.
That's the least of all the bad stuff you just said?
Yeah, right. Oh, we got the Ku Klux Clown and Harley Racist taking on a Jewish guy named Yom Ripper.
Forgive my innocence, but what's the Yom Ripper? Is that supposed to be offensive? I don't
get the. I mean, I'm thinking Yom Kippur.
Okay, there it is. It's probably what it is.
I don't get the. So I'm assuming he's Jewish. I don't get the Ripper part. Maybe he's like a serial killer Jewish guy. I don't know. we're breaking this down too much. I don't know. I think we should get into the event.
I feel like I need to go take a bath before we do anything else.
Right. Well, I'll give you time to do that.
I need to lay in the water and let it all wash off me and then shower.
Gary, I need to bathe in bleach. But
I can't believe I didn't defend him. I'm like, let's just hold on. You might be overdoing it. No, you didn't.
Yep. Nope. That's as bad as I told you. I love stories about this just because it was like this happened. So I don't know. But we're going to take our next break. This will cleanse you here. Going into this break, we're going to let you know about some other great podcasts that we know. One in particular is focused exclusively on hockey, and it is coming up on that time of year. When does hockey season start, or has it already?
Preseason's about to start here in a few weeks. As of this recording, maybe 2 weeks, and then October is official puck drop.
All right, then. Well, get ready for the hockey season with our buddy Kyle, a.k.a. Shaggy, over in Puckburg. He'll be welcome
He's
there.
an Avs fan, but I still like him.
Right. And check that out. You'll hear more information about it in the break coming up, and we'll talk to you on the other side of this about In Your House.
If you're still here.
Right after this.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
By God! Somebody's interrupting the Main Event Marks! Sit down, JR. It's just me, Kyle Sullivan, aka Shaggy Von Doom, your host of Here in Puckburg on the Hockey Podcast Network. I know, a hockey show on the Main Event Marks. Who would have thought? This is an invasion angle. Somewhere between the Nexus and when WCW tried to invade WWE, somewhere in there. But I'm over here just telling you that one half of your tag team champions over here, Greg, he told his story of his love for the game of hockey over on my show. And if you'd like to hear that story, all you have to do is search Here in Puckburg wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. In the meantime, Shagamania's got to go run wild on some other hockey show. So, just remember, quote the Raven, nevermore. Take your vitamins, say your prayers, and oh yeah!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back.
Yeah, we're back. I showered, by the way. Sorry for the long delay, by the way.
Take an extra long break to go just cleanse. To anybody who
you have me rethinking my stance on not knowing the news ahead of time. Like, really?
I wanted you to be shocked with that one, okay? So I stand by
mission accomplished. You should pat yourself on the back, very Horowitz style. But at what freaking cost?
I don't know. I don't know if I should be proud of that one, but yeah, it happened. Either way, this one, speaking of, I don't know if they should be proud of it. It's WWF In Your House 3 triple header. Took place on September 24th, 1995. The tagline, 3 belts, 1 match. The venue was the venue was the Saginaw Civic Center in Saginaw, Michigan. The attendance was 5,146, and the buy rate was 160,000 buys. Not too bad for an In Your House. Not amazing, but not bad. Can you imagine if this was in years later, like the 3 belts, 1 match obviously wouldn't happen. It'd be 3 championships, 1 match or something. It's like, yeah, because that rolls off the tongue real well. But in the opening package, effing package.
Oh, yeah?
Todd Pettengill says that Yokozuna and Owen Hart are, quote, perhaps the greatest WWF tag team champions ever. Good Lord. We get a 3-man comment.
You said that.
Yeah. Like, dude, really? Like, we're not that dumb.
Right? You gotta believe your guys are the best, to be fair.
Well, yeah, I get that, but he said best champions ever. Like, in all the history of the WWF. Like, really? Like, Demolition hadn't even sued you at this point. But we get a 3-man commentary booth with Vince McMahon, Jerry Lawler, and Jim Ross. We go to Savio Vega backstage talking to the Spanish announce team. The camera keeps zooming in closer and closer until it's focused on his neck and out of focus. I don't know who the hell was playing around with stuff. Savio's got some weird hand symbol shaved into the back of his head.
This is Quang right here, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when did he officially switch from Quang to Savio?
I don't know when he switched, but I feel like I remember Savio debuting at King of the Ring 1995.
Okay.
When Razor Ramon hurt his ribs. But I don't know if that's his debut. Maybe before. I don't know, but that's my earliest memory of him. I'm sure I will be getting to that part on my trek through old school WWE. But yeah.
Yeah, because I want to say Quang was in the Rumble. Perhaps.
Quang literally just debuted where I am, which is April 1994. So you could be right. It's less than a year away.
I guess, according to Wikipedia, Wikipedia, Quang debuted on January 10th, 1994. So I don't know.
So maybe he debuted at house shows. He didn't debut on TV until after the Rumble. So
his televised singles debut was January 30th episode of Wrestling Challenge.
Okay, so there's no Wrestling Challenge, at least up to date, on Peacock. So if that happened, he was only on there. I never saw it.
Okay, and to your
Keep
point,
on him. I got an excuse for everything. Let's go.
Right? Yeah. Well, to your point, it said on the April 18th episode of Monday Night Raw, he lost to champion Bret Hart.
Yes, that's when I first saw him.
Yeah. So, he lost his final match to Hakushi on April 29th, 1995.
Yes, the seats.
Hell yeah, man. He lost to Hakushi April 29th, 1995's episode of WWF Superstars. And then on May 14th, he shows up in street clothes at the first In Your House pay-per-view. Okay, so that's the first.
That's appearance. Right, yes. He shows up and helps Razor fight off some people. That's right.
Yeah,
now I remember that. Okay,
I knew
he's brought it back.
Yeah. I thought he was in the Rumble. That's why I was like, because I remember our trek through 95 years ago, and I'm like, But anyway, they tried to do a split screen during Waylon Mercy's entrance, and it takes them a good 5 seconds into Mercy's promo to get the audio switched over. But anyway, we get Waylon Mercy versus Savio Vega here. Speaking of asses and seats, for 7 minutes and 6 seconds. They cut away from the match at one point for Doc Hendricks backstage, saying that Owen Hart isn't there. Savio wins with a
keep me up to date. He sounds like grandma after smoking a couple packs of cigarettes, by the way.
Good Lord. Savio wins with a spinning wheel kick. This was slow and a bit sloppy. Uncle Dave calls the end of Waylon Mercy's character a, quote, mercy killing. Haha, puns.
Ooh, clever.
Yeah. He gave it a quarter of a star. I gave it a star and a half. Let's say you.
I gave it 1. It sucked.
Yeah. Wasn't good.
My only thing was it didn't last too long, luckily.
Yeah. Yeah, thank God. Well, backstage, Doc Hendricks runs into the heel locker room. He runs into the heel locker room where Jim Cornette is arguing with Gorilla Monsoon. Cornette claims that Owen Hart is here in Michigan. Hendricks asks if the main event is in jeopardy, and Monsoon says no. We now see a video of Henry O. Godwin slopping Psycho Sid on Superstars, and then Sid goes backstage and goes nuts. Godwin then...
I want to say, by the way, this was his face turn.
Henry?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was a heel for the longest time before this. I do remember that.
The slack the bucket, so it's over.
Godwin also slopped Ted DiBiase twice in the past month. And now we get this. It is Psycho Sid with Ted DiBiase versus Henry O. Godwin. Because Henry O. Godwin stands for, or, his initials are Pig. Or, no, I'm sorry, that's
Hog.
Yeah,
You're getting ahead.
Hog. His initials are Hog. Phineas is Phineas I. Godwin, so he's Pig. God. I can't even keep the
Thank you for getting
name
that
straight.
right.
Yeah.
Because, we needed that correction.
Right. Well, this is about 7.5 minutes long. This is the first referee I've seen in the WWF wearing a long-sleeved referee shirt. Kind of weird. I'm wondering if he had tattoos, and Vince was like, cover them up, pal.
I did notice that.
Yeah. Weird. You gotta go back and check it out. It's, yeah. Like I said, I'm thinking he had tattoos.
Say I will, and I won't.
Yeah. On commentary, Lawler trashes on Ross for being from Oklahoma, though throughout the whole damn match.
I chuckled a little bit, so.
Yeah, it is funny, but yeah. I like how he has the high ground being from Memphis, Tennessee. Like, really?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Like, I don't know if that's so much better. I mean, maybe. But either way, Godwin hits Sid with the slop drop, but DiBiase pulls him off for the cover. DiBiase gets involved again, and this leads to Sid powerbombing Godwin and getting the pin. Uncle Dave notes that Danny Davis now looks like Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber with his new haircut. So I guess this is Danny Davis. I didn't pay attention.
It's a very timely reference, too. You got to give it to him.
Yeah, right. He also says that Godwin is okay, but Sid was horrible. And he gives it a 0.5 star. I give it a 1.5 stars. What say you?
I gave it a star.
Yeah, not great.
A whole one. Solid star.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Henry Godwin was always pretty decent.
I urge everybody to go find a 1995 match on Superstars with Diesel. It's like probably the best Henry Godwin match you'll ever see.
Huh.
Take my word for it.
That's obscure, but all right.
It's true.
Well, after the match, Sid rolls Godwin out of the ring and then argues with Ted over who will slop Henry. Bam Bam Bigelow now runs down to attack them, and then Kama comes out to attack Bigelow. They go to slop Bigelow, but Henry grabs the bucket and puts the whole thing over DiBiase's head. Ted then goes nuts in anger. Ugh, man. Now, to the back, where Doc Hendricks asks Gorilla Monsoon if the main event match will go on. Gorilla says that he's giving Cornette the choice. Either Yokozuna defends the tag team titles alone, or Cornette chooses a replacement partner for Yoko for one night only. The video is now shown of British Bulldog.
Quick, if you had a brain watching the show, you knew who the replacement was going to be. Let's say that.
Right. Well, speaking of that, a video is shown of the British Bulldog turning heel by attacking Diesel from behind and getting him laid out by Mabel. Now we get the British Bulldog versus Bam Bam Bigelow in 12 minutes. The Bulldog got a haircut right before this event. Bam Bam is back to doing his cartwheel instead of his skip jump that he used to do during his entrance. That was kind of weird. But they break away.
It's a baby face thing, mother effer.
Yeah, the cartwheel is fine, but when he was doing the skip jump, I'm like, what the? Like, who told you to do that? But they break away during.
He's got a skip.
Wow. They break away during this one to show Jim Cornette asking Sid to team with Yokozuna. In the match, Bam Bam goes for the moonsault and misses. Bulldog gets a 2 count off of it and then goes up top with a flying headbutt. They fight a little while longer. Then Bulldog throws Bam Bam chest first into the corner. Bam Bam comes out and Bulldog nails the power slam for a win. Not a terrible match. I just couldn't bring myself to care. Uncle Dave gave it a 1 3/4 stars. I gave it an even 2. What say you?
I gave it 2. Best match of the night so far.
And that's faint praise.
It's true, though.
Right. Well, they now show a video preview for WrestleMania 11, The Special, because who wouldn't want to relive all of that?
They always just show Bigelow and Lawrence Taylor and Diesel Michaels. So
Yeah, the only two things worth watching on that card. Everything else sucked.
if I remember correctly, that would be the last WWE thing broadcast on Fox until they picked up SmackDown 3 years ago.
Wow.
Which,
Yeah, that's weird.
not counting syndicated superstars, no one counts that. That's just thrown out there for someone to pick up. So
Yeah, right. Hey, WrestleMania 11, the special.
Shut up and take my money.
There you go. Anyway.
if I remember correctly, I think it replaced that show New York Undercover when it aired, and I was pissed. I like that show.
I've never even heard of that show.
I just put it on Peacock. I've been watching it back. It's a really good show. It's the first ever buddy cop show in history. Did not feature the cops weren't white. One was black, one was Puerto Rican. So it was like kind of groundbreaking for the movie. So
makes sense for New York. You wouldn't have just like a bunch of white guys in New York. But Bob Backlund walks to the ring now carrying a Webster's Dictionary and shouting at fans. He grabs a microphone and uses...
Fourth president's wife's secretary. You better tell me her.
He grabs a microphone and uses big words to insult the fans' reading and writing skills. Backlund then introduces... I'll get to him here in a second, too. But Backlund then introduces Dean Douglas. They show videos of Razor Ramon and Douglas getting into it all month long. Real quick, a buddy of mine, Kyle, from the Apron Bump podcast, he tweeted something out.
Kyles, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we know way too many Kyles. But he tweeted something out, something about, it's like, who's somebody that, it's like, he just couldn't give a damn about. It's like, I know they were a big thing at some point. It's just like, I don't get it.
I saw this.
Yeah, and he was like, my thing was always Bob Backlund. And I said, yeah, my thing was Jim Duggan. I don't know. Like, yeah, he shouted USA, and he was fun when I was a kid, I guess, but he sucked. I just never cared. But, yeah,
I'm
Bob
still stuck on this. And who did I just, when I was a kid, who did I just not give a damn about that everyone loved? I still don't have an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, so Bob Backlund was always... I never liked Bob Backlund. I never saw anything in him. It's like, oh, yeah, him. All right. But he was a big thing back in the WWF. Whatever. Well, this match...
I love double F.
Good Lord. This one is Dean Douglas with Bob Backlund in his corner, taking on Razor Ramon, just shy of 15 minutes. Razor starts off hot on Douglas. They cut away at one point to show Jim Cornette asking King Mabel to team with Yokozuna. Mabel and Yoko just stare each other down. Douglas shoves Razor into referee Tim White at one point. That's not wise. As the ref is getting up, Razor nails the Razor's Edge, and the 1-2-3 Kid rushes in to count the 3. Razor gets mad at Kid because he's not the legal ref, and he shoves Kid out of the ring. Diesel then gets Razor in a sloppy O'Connor roll while holding the tights for the win. Pretty good match. Surprised to see Douglas go over, though. Uncle Dave gave it 2.25 stars. I give it 2.5 for average. What say you?
I gave it 2.
Not bad.
This 1-2-3 Kid thing is building something bigger, though. So
right.
Stay tuned.
I hope Douglas got paid well for this, because this gimmick sucked. Nobody gave a damn. I don't know. And he ends up going back to ECW in the end anyway. But after the match...
Yeah, where the real money's at.
Yeah, right. That's why I said I hope you at least got paid for this.
And on a good month, you might see part of your check.
Good Lord. After the match, Razor rolls Kid back into the ring and slaps him. Kid tries to kick Razor, and all the geeks get in the ring to separate them. They now show a commercial.
Friends, what are they doing? Shut up.
These two are all over the map. They show a commercial for In Your House 4 live from Winnipeg, Canada next month. It will be
discussed in the news is going to be a hit and a half.
Exactly. They say it's going to be The Undertaker versus King Mabel, Wrongo, and the debut of Goldust.
I know.
Yay. But now to the back yet again.
To the back.
Doc Hendricks is advertising that if you call now, you can get a Shawn Michaels hat and sunglasses combo, along with some kind of videotape. I don't know. But Diesel and Shawn Michaels then get interviewed and compare wrestling Owen Hart and Yokozuna, and Owen not being there, to wanting to hook up with a chick, and she's kind of nutty, and it never works out.
Yeah, because that made sense.
Right. This is effing weird. They got some weird promos. They always like, it's like, did they just like, they were like, whatever, we'll just say whatever we want, and, who cares? Because I remember there was one in your house.
Oh, they probably realized nobody was watching in your house, so it's fine.
I remember there was one in your house where Diesel was going out to defend the title, and he looks at the Todd Pettingill's trying to get a word with him before he goes out, and he's like, "It's about to get funky," and then he just like walks out. It's like, what the hell was that?
Again, no one's watching.
Right. But Diesel says, "I smell a rat," and Shawn says, "I thought that was just Doc over here." Oh, man. These guys were ridiculous. But anyway, before the next match, they show that Jean-Pierre LaFitte has been stealing Bret Hart's sunglasses from children and has recently stolen Bret Hart's leather jacket. He actually wears Bret's jacket to the ring here for this next match. It is
the whole thing here was like Bret's mom made that for him, and that's why he was pissed about it.
Yeah.
There's context to it, though. He didn't just take a jacket, because that would have been stupid. Not that this wasn't, but it's a little less. Gotta be fair.
Yeah. Well, what do pirates do, Greg? They steal things. There you go.
Well, normally in baseball, pirates just lose, but I don't, whatever.
Wow. Anyway, this is Jean-Pierre LaFitte versus Bret Hart in about 16 and a half minutes.
Yes, this is the best they can do with Bret Hart in September of 1995.
Apparently so.
Perhaps the greatest wrestler on the planet this time is doing this. Go ahead.
Well, the crowd blows the damn roof off the building for Bret.
Thank you for proving my point.
Exactly. When he gets in the ring, LaFitte takes a powder. Bret does a suicide dive onto him, but overshoots him and does a front flip onto the floor, taking that whole suicide dive thing literally.
This is actually a very iconic shot, by the way. You watch any Bret Hart tribute video ever, you see this shot. So,
right. Well, he's right up, however, beating the tar out of the pirate all over ringside. LaFitte controls most of the match. McMahon says, "I'm sure Jean-Pierre LaFitte is asking himself the same question that everyone who's been in the ring with Bret Hart, you included, Jerry Lawler, eventually asked themselves." And Lawler says, "How do I stand the smell?" All right.
Dude, he's like a couple months removed from eating his feet. That was disgusting. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know. I will say this is I popped for that one. But LaFitte misses the cannonball. He misses another to the outside later on. In the end, Bret locks in the sharpshooter and rolls it in while on the mat. Like, picture that they're laying on the mat, and he locks it in and, like, rolls over and locks it in.
Exactly how he beat Kurt Hennig in 1991 at SummerSlam, I believe.
I forgot about that one. But I will say this, it was a pretty damn good match. Uncle Dave notes that, quote, "For all the negatives thrown at Bret Hart, or actually at Hart's mouth, or that Hart's mouth throws at himself, he is a fantastic worker, and when it comes to major shows," end quote.
Okay.
He also,
what's major about this?
yeah, that's the one thing. It's like, this is a major show? I mean, I guess. Whatever. But anyway, he also says that LaFitte is an excellent worker who lacks charisma. You don't say. He gives us 4 stars.
Get the hell out.
I gave it 3. Let's say you.
I gave it 3 as well, but man. And
4.
Not to spoil anything, this is the best match of the entire night, but
right.
Wow. 4?
Yeah, 4 effing stars. Like, were you that impressed because everything else up to this point kind of sucked?
Also,
right.
I just realized something in you running down the match. You just realized multiple times the pirate did a cannonball. I completely missed that one.
Yep.
I did never even piece that together.
Right. But yeah, he took a freaking like big ass bump to the outside, which he still does that kind of crap. It's like, damn, dude, are you made of steel? Like, what the hell? But After
This
the
was
match,
back before Jumpstart was an official thing.
yeah, right. After the match, Bret takes his leather jacket back and celebrates in it. So, yay, everybody's happy. The pirate can sail off into the sunset. To the back, yet again, where Doc Hendricks chose the British Bulldog will be Yokozuna's tag team partner. Bulldog changed his
I,
tights.
for one, was shocked as hell.
Yeah, it's like, you mean the other guy in Camp Cornette? Like, yeah. I guess, was he technically at this point in Camp Cornette, or was that coming up?
He was, yeah. He was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so go figure. But earlier he was wearing red and gold, or no, I'm sorry, right here he's wearing red and gold. Earlier he was wearing red, white, and blue. So he pulled a Macho Man and changed for his next match. But Gorilla Monsoon says that the Bulldog has an opportunity to become either the World Champion, Intercontinental Champion, or lose the tag titles for Yoko and Owen. And now Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, and Jerry Lawler have some really crappy audio as they go over the PA system to pimp some merchandise. Alundra Blaze models the event T-shirt, and for everyone, and shows off that people who order the T-shirt get a free WWF videotape.
Kind of ironic that we're a couple weeks away from her leaving. Maybe this was the tipping point.
Yeah, it's like, this is all you can do with Alundra Blaze? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a good-looking woman, but she's not going to go out there and model for you. Whatever. Anyway, we're going to take this opportunity to take our next break. When we come back, it's main event time. Right for this.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
What's up, everybody? I am the hardest part of the ring, the host of the Apron Bump podcast. Ugh, another wrestling podcast. How many times can I listen to fans tell me who needs a push, who doesn't need a push, who brings Vince's coffee these days? Enough! The Apron Bump is about the journey. It's about nostalgia. It's about discovering new forms of wrestling to really tickle your pickle as a wrestling fan. The podcast brings you reviews of wrestling events all over the world, whether it's WWF, WWE, WCW, ECW. We even cover the golden eras of Ring of Honor, Progress, TNA, and more promotions in the future as well. New episodes every Wednesday. Bump Day, yeah? Go to apronbump.com or go to your favorite podcast platform or YouTube and subscribe today for the most diverse, fan-friendly wrestling podcast in the world. I'm Hard.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back.
We're back.
Main event is here.
I had to take another shower, by the way, after that last the news segment. But yeah, I took another one.
Hey, well, you should have been cleansed by Bret Hart versus the Pirate.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. Anyway, it is Yokozuna and the British Bulldog with Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette in their corner, taking on Shawn Michaels and Diesel, Big D. All the titles are on the
Two
line.
dudes with attitudes.
Exactly. This goes for 15 minutes, 42 seconds. Diesel's singlet and Shawn's ass say dudes with attitude on them. They have a graphic on the side that looks like they're going to do a split screen for like 2 minutes before they actually show it. Then the replay is all pixelated. So let's just say WWF stepped up their game after a while with live TV. Diesel motions for the jackknife on Bulldog at one point, and HBK takes out Cornette on the apron. Yoko hits a Samoan drop on Diesel before Shawn super kicks him out of the ring. Bulldog hits Diesel with a power slam, and HBK elbow drops the back of Bulldog while he's laying on Diesel. Owen Hart now suddenly shows up and dives off the top rope into a punch to the gut and a jackknife powerbomb. Diesel pins him to win the WWF Tag Team titles. How is Owen Hart legally allowed to compete? I have no idea. Good match, but the ending was confusing. Uncle Dave gave it 3 stars. I gave it 3 1/4, or I give it 3 stars too. Sorry.
Oh my God! You just took his rating system.
That's right.
You threw a quarter on there.
Yeah, I mean 3 stars, not a quarter. Gosh, I'm never gonna give anything a quarter.
You should be slapped in the face for that, but
let's say
I gave it 3 as well. I gave it 3 as well.
good match. Except that ending was like the F. Yoko was almost immobile at this point, but he could still move a bit. So I don't know. But after the match, Shawn Michaels and Diesel pose with all the title belts as the spotlight hits them and the pyro goes off in the rafters. Uncle Dave would have given the show a thumbs up if the main event wasn't right out of the WCW Screwjob playbook. And then, even worse, it turned into an AWA Screwjob where you send the fans home happy and then reverse the decision on TV the next night. In fact, Uncle Dave thought that Fall Brawl was a better show this month, mostly because it actually did a good job of making the Giant look like a threat to Hulk Hogan, whereas nobody could possibly buy Davey Boy Smith as a top challenger to Diesel now.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see him as like a geek. He almost had Diesel beat right here, so I don't know. I don't know if I didn't think necessarily he was going to beat him, the next month, but I don't think it was like completely out of the realm of possibilities. Whatever. Obviously, it didn't happen, but you know what I mean. But we're going to take our final break of the podcast. When we come back, it is the final ratings, and we'll tell you what's coming up in the coming weeks on the podcast right after this.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan McCarthy, and I'm the host of the No Credentials Required podcast. Start your work week with the Monday Drop-In, where I talk about the sports beat in the Capital District, also known as the Mighty 518, as well as Metro New York sports from an upstate point of view. I also give a life lesson from a weekly sports story, so you might learn something from that. I also have a midweek podcast where I interview different sports personalities and talk about a wide array of topics. Take a listen and subscribe on your preferred podcast app, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Also check out our social media channels on Twitter and Instagram, BellyUpNCR, and Facebook.com/BellyUpSportsNCR. We're a part of the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network in association with Godzilla Media. No credentials required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Hey gang, it's Commissioner Cooper of TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. Expert fantasy advice, free contests, leading expert medical and legal analysis, and most importantly, you. Interact with us on all social media platforms or check us out at tssfantasy.com. You can hear us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Check out the fun today and be a part of the most interactive fantasy show around. TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back. So before we get in the final ratings, I just thought, so Dave said, well, I would have given the show a thumbs up if not for that finish and whatever. It's like, so
if it was in the Tokyo Dome.
My thing is like, so if the finish was different, you would have given the show a thumbs up? Like, why? Like, based on what? But either way, Internet Movie Database gave this a 5.9 out of 10. CageMatch.net gave it a 5.93 out of 10. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10 for probably a D-. What say you?
I gave it a C-. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, maybe a D+. I don't know. It's wasn't the worst piece of crap I ever seen. Most of these In Your Houses, especially in '95, were not great. So they were just something.
2-hour, $15 digestible shows. I believe that was the selling point.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know. It's like I said, it wasn't bad. I can think of worse ways to spend your time. I mean, hell, I can think of worse things.
Yeah, hell would be a worse thing to spend your time on. Yeah.
Good Lord. I can think of worse ways to spend your time watching things on Peacock. So there you go. But anyway, that does it for this show. Coming up in the coming weeks, I'm excited for next week. We're covering WCW Fall Brawl 1998. And it is double main event week. So for the bonus show on Friday, we're also covering NWA Clash of the Champions 3 Fall Brawl. So
one of these shows is pretty good. The other one, yeah, well, it happened.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to talking about that. We don't talk about enough 1998, or we haven't recently. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, no, that's because 25 years is next year, and your annual compulsiveness won't allow you to do much until next year. Don't try to mask it.
The next couple of months, I'm trying to switch things up here and there. The bonus show is, I can't remember what year that's in, 88, 89, something like that.
God, I just watched it. It's definitely a horrible camera. There's definitely a lot of bullets.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so, do the math on that. Yeah.
It took place in 88. So that's not exactly the, same, not one of them like, yeah, it's a little out there. It's headlined by Sting and Barry Windham for the NWA United States title.
You literally can't go wrong with that.
Right. There's other stuff on the card. It's like, whatever. I mean, we talked about one of these guys earlier. Mike Rotunda defends the TV title against Brad Armstrong in the opening match. So, I'm looking forward to watching it. I haven't seen it yet. I always get something out of these shows.
You're not wasting your time, but it's not that great. But it's not like, oh God, I want my time back.
Right. Yeah, some of these Clash of the Champions were just kind of like, okay. But we're closing out the month.
Which is kind of funny because these were before the era of pay-per-views every month. These were supposed to be like pay-per-view quality. You don't get that a lot.
I know. But we're closing out the month on September 28th with WWF Ground Zero in Your House from 1997. So we're going back to 97, seeing what happened in September.
I got a feeling you're not going to split on that. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the show looks like. I haven't watched it yet, so looking forward to that. Looking ahead to October, I'm not going to pimp it yet, but that one I tried to go a little here, a little there, a little everywhere, covering different things. Should be a fun month. Very much looking forward to it.
There's a guaranteed 5-star match in the month of October. I'll just say that.
Oh, it's good to know. Looking forward to watching all these. But well, thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Yep.
We will see you all next week with 2 rounds of Fall Brawl.